Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to language for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways Podcast. I'm your keeper Michael, and we return to Horror on the Orient Express in Trieste, where we find our investigators in a rather dirty, dingy, blood-soaked cave. But before all that gets started, we'd like to thank you, the listener, and especially you, the Patreon supporter. If you would care to join our Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast and see what we have to offer. There's an awful lot. And last game, if you listened to last episode, you would have heard many, many Hands of Fate be played. And those are only available via our Patreon. And those are active participants in the community who are exacting their revenge or giving their fortune. And so, we will start with introductions to my right.
Hello, I'm Mike, and I play James Robert Fraser, who is, at last, reunited with his companions under rather noisy and bloody circumstances.
Yes, you've walked through bodies to get here, creating a few of your own along the way. We are again in the missing Lady Elizabeth formation, but trust, dear listeners, that Lady Elizabeth will return in haste. I'm certain nothing terrible has happened to her while she's been away. At the end of the table.
Hi, this is Giles, and I'm playing Simon Griffith. And yeah, those Hands of Fate. Let's just talk about exploding guns.
They can assist or perhaps subdue an investigator in certain instances. They are available once per month to our Patreon supporters, and they do have a lasting effect, as you'll come to see. To Mr. Griffith's right.
Hi, this is Miranda, and I play Maggie Bellinger, and at this rate, I'm going to be the one spanking Richard.
It's true. It's possibly true. I look forward to that, as many of our listeners probably do. Last but most certainly not least.
I'm Martin, and I'm playing Richard Courtney, and Richard wants his trousers back.
Indeed, sir. Fascination does not belie the need for trousers. So, we raise the curtain tonight in a section of the tunnels that exist inside a cave system just east of Trieste. The assembled investigators had decided to take in this space to go on a hunt for what they hope would be perhaps a piece of the simulacrum, and through some challenges have managed to find themselves amidst a series of disparate forces, perhaps. It's clear that some of these men are, or were, fez-wearing members of an order that they've tangled with before. There are also several men here who are wearing dark robes, and it's unclear what their motive is or was. But one thing is certain, that their bodies were forever changed or altered by some unseen force, where the flesh was no longer human, but was something more. And so I think what we'll pick up is with a fascination that our professor has garnered during this battle. One of flesh. Human or otherwise, he is drawn to inspect a nearby bloated, purpled corpse, which our steadfast Fraser had finally felled. So tell us, Professor, what are you doing?
So after this rather crazy and inconvenient fight, Richard is going to Just very calmly pick up his pickaxe. Clean the tip. Make sure that it's not dirty. I mean, we wouldn't want to make a mess now, would we? And walk over to this purple thing with a robe on it. Richard remembers seeing it sort of strangely envelop one of these Bethesda gentlemen. He kind of treats the Bethesda gentlemen as rats, so he's not overly bothered with the fact that it ate one. No, certainly not. So he's going to wander over to one of these purple things and start using the pickaxe to try and pry it apart. I mean, it came apart before, so, I mean, it's dead now. It should probably come apart a little bit easier.
You raise the pickaxe and give the sternum of this creature a swift thwack. You see it puncture deep into the chest cavity. The rest of the skin in the area cracks and lets out a gout of this rather strange blue and, well, perhaps even purple fluid that leaks out from it.
Very curious about this. Richard is going to just use the pickaxe, sort of lever it against the ground to maybe prise some of the bony sternum away to create a bit of a hole.
There is a sickening crunch that fills the air as the sternum cracks and the rib cage and other portions begin to give way.
Perfect.
For you, Mr. Fraser, this is disgusting. It's a reprehensible act to mutilate a dead body.
The hell are you doing, man?
Have you seen anything like this before?
No, I haven't.
Remarkable. Maggie, get your camera. No, this is just the discovery I've been looking for. This is something entirely new to medical science. We'll be famous. These things, these discoveries, we can make a name for ourselves, write papers, travel the world, and regale people with the discovery of what we found in this odd cave, perhaps some ancient civilization. But it's important that we get photographic evidence and we make good notes.
I don't have time for this nonsense.
Not nonsense. I mean, why? Professor Smith would absolutely approve of this sort of endeavour.
I'm just ignoring him, and I am going to go back into the just to the sort of corner, just to make sure that there's no other people or creatures or whatever coming down after us.
You don't see any creatures continuing to vex this location. The hallway further beyond where they were standing is very dark. It's almost uncomfortably so. And you can see Simon here is recovered a bit, but there's all sorts of scorch marks on his clothes and up his neck.
Simon, are you all right?
No, I'm not all right, Jim. Mike, I look at my watch to see how much time we have left on our time limit.
Spirit gave you what, an hour?
An hour. And we were about 20 minutes in when we hit there, I think.
Yeah, it's probably been another 5 during the fight.
We've got about half an hour to get out of the cave before the electrical spirit will light us up. So, I don't know about you.
What?
How about I explain at the door?
Where is her ladyship? Lady Elizabeth, are you down here?
No, she was with you.
Yes, haven't you seen her?
No, she was not with me.
Fraser, we need to find her, and we need to get the medallion and then take it back to the creature so they'll give us the body part.
No, she was with you, Simon. You and I were at the front, at the entrance. You went back to join the others. I have not seen her ladyship. Where is she?
I have not seen her either, Jim. We do need to find her. We have a limited time, and I'm checking to see if there's anything on any of these bodies that might say who they're from.
You check those ones down there. I'll check these ones up here. Yeah, I'm going to go. I'm going to start with the ones closest to me, and then I'm going to move back out into the corridor I came down and start checking bodies to see if I can find anything useful on them. I'll have my torch, my flashlight on.
I've got the bag that was holding gear, and now that since the professor is taking the pickaxe out, I've also got some space. So I'm not being too vigilant about this, as in I'm checking the bodies, things I find, I'm tossing them in the bag. I can check them later. I can go through them later at more leisurely pace. Wallets, things like that. Guns, pistols, ammunition, idols.
All right. You begin going through some of the bodies. Those of you who are checking, essentially the Fez gentlemen are armed with pistols. Revolvers mostly, although they do have a fair amount of additional bullets. Each probably have between 6 or 8 .38 caliber rounds for the revolvers. Each have probably cigarettes, matches, some very simple things. Nobody's carrying direct identification. Most of them don't even carry money. Each of them carry a backup knife. And the knives here are definitely of, we would say, there's a signature to each one of them. They're not a combat knife or a trench knife. There's definitely a curve in each one of those blades. Just the lightest of curve and sort of swept back blade. It almost looks like a fang in that fashion. The handles are all handmade wood. Nothing here looks like it was manufactured. So there's no direct, machines stamping between all of them, right? These blades carried a purpose, and they all have sort of an oil on the handle a little bit. There's a tackiness to it when you touch them, those of you who are handling them. On the other gentlemen, the robed ones, they carry almost nothing other than their clothing. Each one are scarred and burned with all sorts of different symbols which are very difficult to make out. Although if you have a reason and desire to make Cthulhu Mythos rolls, you'd be able to, but it would take more than a cursory glance. This isn't like reading a street sign. It would take dedicated time to attempt to decipher what they actually mean, or if you'd ever seen something like that before.
So, James, while he's searching the bodies, if there are any 45 bullets, he will pocket them because he's spent quite a few. If not, he will take one of the 38s. He's going to wear his gloves while he's doing this as well, by the way. He will take one of the 38s and grab a good handful of bullets, at least. Are they automatics or are they revolvers?
They're revolvers.
So at least kind of 12 bullets, just so he's got a couple of loads of bullets, and just shove them in his pocket. And basically, if Lady Elizabeth is not with the others, he will leave them to do what they need to do, and he's going to go looking for her ladyship.
So are you then leaving them entirely?
I think yes. Listen, Simon, I don't know what's going on with Professor Courtney there. Miss Bellinger, are you all right?
I'm fine, but we need to find Lady Elizabeth so that I can get the medallion from her. It's the only way that we'll get the next body part, and that's why we're here. And if we must move fast.
Why don't you and I go looking for her ladyship? We'll leave Simon and Professor Courtney, whatever he's doing here, to deal with this mess. And you can tell me what's been going on while we look for her.
You can take my camera for your. I'll give Richard my camera for his studies.
Yes. Thank you.
So as he grabs your camera, Miss Bellinger, he reaches up with a pair of very bloodied hands, almost like a kid playing in a mud pile, and he takes hold of the camera, and you can hear the squish from the blood between his fingers as he sort of begins to greedily aim it down at the body, and that first flash of the camera goes off. When you get a really good look in the flash at what he is doing, and he looks almost feral. He has a really strange glint in his eye, stranger than before, right? As his beautifully sparkled eyes have sort of turned a menacing purple in this light.
I'll make note of that for later, but there are more important things at hand right now.
Certainly.
Richard can handle himself. Maggie has her own mania to deal with.
You do. It's funny how conflicting manias seem to be coming in together. Simon, your perusal of the bodies back here reveals a lot about who these men were or really weren't. This is for lack of a better term, this is a kill squad. There's nothing of value really on these bodies outside of ammunition, a spare backup pistol if necessary, and maybe a spare knife. Everything else has been left to, probably sit back at headquarters, wherever that might be. And these people were sent on a kill mission.
The only question I have is, does any of them have, maybe the one person, like the leader, have a room key or something like that?
No, you don't find any keys on them either.
Okay. Maybe they have a driver outside. Entirely possible they parked a distance away. That would explain something. Because I doubt they hoofed it all the way here. But I'm being very cognizant of the time, and I'm dragging the professor away from the bodies when I'm done searching them towards the entrance.
Professor, you get a couple of really good photos, and then the haze that's over you, this deep concern for how this thing works and operates, begins to lift. Before it does, though, I think it's reasonable for you to make some sort of biology roll, perhaps a natural world roll. I would even allow a Cthulhu Mythos roll if you chose to, based on your focus.
Good, Richard. So I guess there's sort of different elements to this. Could I talk you into maybe a natural world roll for the biological aspects of it? And he would have almost certainly spotted this writing and would be keen to study it. So I think he's got Maggie's camera. He's not entirely confident that he can use that, but I think what he'll probably do is jot down in his notebook a copy of the symbols and also probably take a photo as well.
Okay. You take a photo and jot some things down in your notebook, which is now covered in more of this blood that's been all over the body. And if you'd like natural world, that's perfectly fine with me.
The last time Richard passed a natural world roll was when he had his hands up a stagnant deer.
Oh, yes.
And that was a hard success, 21 under 44.
So a couple of things. So the inside of this corpse reveals that the musculature that you're seeing on the outside, these, sort of stranded muscles that were used to claw at the tavern and used to collect its compatriots, to suck the juice out of them, operate very much like octopus limbs.
Mm.
There are suctions lining them, very small, and they give, it seems, an extreme amount of force they can lay against a creature. Even as you touch them, there's still some reactive musculature that tries to keep your fingers stuck to it, but the blood on your hands prevents that from becoming completely emulsifying. The musculature on the inside does seem to line portions of its stomach cavity. You can see where these strands come in at. And the nearest thing that you can equate it to in the natural world would be some sort of sea creature.
Yes, fascinating. Richard's convinced he's found a new species here that's previously undiscovered, and he's going to be famous.
Interesting. And that's when you feel the presence of Simon beside you. And he keeps saying something like that, we have to get going, but it's only now beginning to register in your brain.
Yes, just a little longer. I just need a couple more photos. We won't get an opportunity like this again. I think this is important.
Professor, if you don't want me to clock you and drag you to the entrance, go now.
Well, look, just as we pass one, I just need a photo. I don't need to spend a long time with them.
Hurry up. There is an electrical spirit down here that would love to fry your brains.
Richard will casually kind of walk past, heading towards the entrance, but as soon as he sees another one, he'll just take another photo.
Yeah, you continue to take photos. That said, Mr. Fraser and Miss Bellinger have left the area a couple of minutes ago, and they are sort of weaving their way back down through another section of the tunnels here. So to say at the very least that the tunnels are a little disjointed would be forgiving.
Labyrinthine.
See, it's not just that they weave their way back to the entrance, but they go in 2 or 3 different directions here. Some small, some large. And you kind of begin to feel like you're going to have to pick your poison about which one you're going to go down.
Could I perhaps make a tracking roll to see if I can see if there are any footprints down any of these corridors?
Yeah.
Her ladyship, has her ladyship got a cane with her at the moment?
I would assume that you would, yes.
So that would be a little bit more distinctive than just normal.
It might be, but the caves are rocks, not mud. So
I thought there might be sort of sand on the base. But fair enough. Yeah,
there might be some sand. But
I mean, he's not good at tracking, but he's looking to see if he can see anything that might help him find the way.
Certainly. Yeah, go ahead and give me a track roll. It'll take a little time to, get back to where she's at, or get back to the trail anyway.
Oh, that is one off a fumble. So, yeah, no, it ain't happening.
So you begin to walk down a path. This was a path that you hadn't taken before, Miss Bellinger, obviously. And you begin to walk deeper down. Now, some of these tunnels that you're walking through now are, they're a bit flooded, James. You're having to sort of pick and choose as you move about which side of the tunnel that you're on.
Mm-hmm. Can I listen out as I go to see if I can hear any signs of anyone up ahead? And if I've kind of satisfied myself that I can't hear anything, maybe call out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
My listen is 60, which is not too bad. Yeah, no, that is a failure. No, don't hear anything, or perhaps I hear too many things.
Yeah, it's really the latter rather than the former. It's all the movement. It's different when you're moving by yourself because you can account for your own sounds. But having to move with Miss Bellinger is a little bit tougher because you're having to account for hers. And then is that echo or is that sound happening here? It gets a little bewildering.
These tunnels play tricks on your ear. Miss Bellinger, what happened down there? What was Simon talking about? Electrical spirits?
We got separated, and I don't know what happened, but he's been saying that we only have an hour or something like that to get out of here, but it might take longer than that. We ran into something in a cavern in the water. It held me down, and well, I'm not sure what happened to Richard. He was firing his gun off everywhere, and he was talking about a sword and fighting a dragon, but we made an agreement with whatever the creature was, that I would exchange Lady Elizabeth's medallion that she found for the body part.
What? Creature in the water? What? Dragon?
And there was a fog, and the further we got in, the less you could see. It was practically choke you.
And is this where you lost her ladyship? In the fog?
No, I don't believe we've seen Lady Elizabeth for quite some time.
How did this happen? How did you manage to lose track of her? I don't understand.
Well, I think I'd lost track of her around the time that I reached out to the Comte to help guide us.
You did the what?
To find the piece of the simulacrum. We needed guidance, we needed directions, and so I reached out, and that was the last time that we saw Lady Elizabeth.
I'm sorry, Miss Bellinger, are you seriously telling me that you deliberately tried to... what was he doing here anyway? Why are you reaching out to him? Why is he here? Where is he now?
Well, I don't know where he is now. He's not a physical being that's here with us, but it took a lot for me to contact him, and he guided us down the right cavern path. But it was at that point that I went in the correct direction, and we lost sight of Lady Elizabeth.
So you went one way and she went another. Take me to where
I
you
went
were.
one way and I don't know where she went.
Take me to where you were when this happened. Maybe we can find the direction that her ladyship travelled in.
I'll lead Fraser back towards the cave entrance as best as I can.
She leads you all the way back to the cave
We're not
entrance.
very far in.
No, not terribly far in, but she does lead you back. And you see, you kind of sort of turn. She turns you around where they were standing, and you see that you're back at sort of this, I don't want to call it cistern area, but it's a major key point in the space where there are multiple tunnels that lead. One is the trolley that goes right, which you were down not just a few minutes ago, where you sort of eventually had to jump off that path to deal with whatever they were dealing with. And then there is the one you went down a little bit ago with, that has more of the water, and there's a couple of them. There are so many different choices.
So it was here that, and you say the Comte was here?
Well, he wasn't here, but I did talk to him.
What? You talked to him, but he was not here. The Comte was here.
Well, I guess he was here. I guess he was here, but not physically as much. But yes, he was here. He's always with us.
Can I make a psychology roll to see if Miss Margaret Ballinger has lost her mind?
You absolutely can.
Oh, that's a 06 under 62.
Ooh. So I would say this then. That's extreme. Oh, and since it's an extreme on a skill roll that is not in combat, because I don't believe we've had any others since this season started. That's a little thing that I'm doing with extreme rolls on skills. So add 4 points of luck.
Oh my goodness.
Immediately.
Thank you very much indeed.
There are rewards for benefiting, for rolling very well. For having extreme successes and insights, one gets better lucky than good, perhaps.
Thank you very much indeed.
You discern a few things, Mr. Fraser. One of them is that the Miss Bellinger's, her attraction, her need for the Comte hasn't really staved off any since the last encounter. In fact, from what she's saying, she seems even more enticed by the idea of speaking with him. And if she's saying he was not here, but he talked to her, either one of two things is true. Either she is speaking to him in some way telepathically, or she believes that she is, and thus the Comte is a voice in her head. And with the recent issues you had, Venice is a huge turning point for her. Perhaps she's not better.
Miss Ballinger.
Yes, Mr. Fraser.
You are speaking to the Comte.
Yes.
You know that the Comte does not wish... You know what he did to the priest.
Helping us.
You know what he did to the priest.
Well, there was probably a reason for that.
Yes, he told me the reason. Because he wanted to. Because he enjoyed it. He put his finger in the man's blood and licked his finger. That is the kind of man you are dealing with. And I think, if you will forgive me for saying so, Miss Ballinger, you are getting altogether too close to this man. He is a danger to us. No matter what he says about helping us, he is only helping himself. Every word that comes out of that man's mouth is a lie.
But it's merely a means to an end, Mr. Fraser. We've been tasked with a job to complete, and thus far he has been helping us along the way.
No, he has been helping himself. Please understand me, Miss Bellinger. Whatever he says to you, it is a lie. He is only using you to get what he wants. He is a manipulator. Do you see?
Well, Mr. Fraser, if one can play that game, then two can as well.
It is a dangerous game to play. He is a clever man. He is strong. I have seen him face to face. a fire
yes, but
behind his eyes. He is a demon. He is a demon that walks the earth, Miss Bellinger. He has the guise of a man, but he is not a man.
Well, I know that as much.
Do you? Are you sure? Are you sure that you are not enticed? Are you sure that you are not seduced by this man and his words, his lies, his deceit? He will make promises he has no intention of keeping.
Wouldn't you be? He promised me that I could fly.
Aye, he promised you, but it was a lie.
But we don't know that.
We do know that. I have seen it. I have heard it. I have heard... Please try and understand me. Whatever he does is not to your well-being. He will take what he needs and he will cast you aside when he no longer has any use for you.
Well, I suppose we could do the same as well, Mr. Fraser. He does not have 4 other individuals standing behind him.
Well, this is true. This is true, and I strongly hope that this is your true and honest intention. All I can say is that if you trust him, if you believe he is helping you or us in any way, then you are only fooling yourself. He is merely attempting to manipulate us to get what he wants, and we must not allow it.
But he's giving us what we want for now, and that's what matters to me.
Aye, well, he's growing stronger. That is my fear. Each time he appears, each time I have seen him, he has been stronger. And I can't help but think that whatever this simulacrum is and whatever effect it is having on you, because I see it, Miss Bellinger. I'm not blind. I see that it is changing you. And I worry that it is in some way feeding him, giving him strength.
But Mr. Fraser gives me strength as well.
He said a word to me, Miss Ballinger. He said a word to me, and I could not move. It was as if my very muscles were frozen. I had no power over my own body. I don't know what it was. I don't know how he did it. Please do not underestimate this man, and do not believe him when he says that he wishes you well. If he takes your hand to walk off a cliff or off a clock tower or wherever, it is not because he wants you to fly. It is because he wants you to fall, and he will laugh. He will rejoice in the pain and suffering of others.
I will take your advice and your concern under careful consideration, Mr. Fraser.
Thank you, Miss Ball. I'm sorry. It's been a very trying time. There's been a lot of death in the last few minutes. A lot of things that I would rather not have seen. If I could unsee them in some way, I wish I could. But we must find Lady Elizabeth.
After all the back and forth between the two of you, it's at this point really that Simon and the professor would arrive. Given the searching and the back and forth, the four of you are together again now, somewhat near the entrance. You can feel the breeze, the cold wind come down from outside, and it is a reminder to you that, Mr. Fraser, that the front door is no longer protecting the people in the caves.
Not that it ever really was, from the looks of it. These men, things, whatever they were, these twisted, deformed creatures, they broke in through the door into the caves. The door is not fastened. If there are any other adversaries, any other of these men with fezzes around, then there's nothing stopping them from getting in and moving about in the caves as they will.
You'd all notice now in the light provided by your collective torches that Mr. Fraser has some welts, red welts now, that have grown up on his neck and part of his face. You see that his normally mostly spotless uniform has been singed and burned by something as well.
Jim, I'm not in great shape myself. We need to wrap this up here and head back. But we need to find Lady E as well. Plus, someone needs a body part. Not you, Professor. You've got more than enough pictures.
Simon, you're not telling me anything I don't already know. Our first priority is to find her ladyship. Then we find the body part. Then we get the hell out of here.
What is that I see on your skin?
It's nothing.
No, let me take a look. I
Professor.
No, you don't need to.
No, just a...
No, Paul will
moment.
deal with it. Please, step back. We have other more important business to attend to.
I fear it'll get worse unless somebody looks at it now.
But you're not a doctor, Professor. Please stop poking.
No, but it could be chemical or physical in nature, and one doesn't need to be a doctor to understand basic chemistry.
While the professor talks about chemistry, Mr. Fraser picks a corridor and goes down it.
Actually, Mike, can I use my tracking skill to see if I can see Lady E's cane and footprints?
As was discussed earlier, the cave floor here is made of stone. There are going to be no markings made by her cane because they're not going to dig into the stone. And in this general space where you're starting at here from the multi-area cave area, there's no direct big pools of water that she would have had to walk through either. You can make a tracking roll go right ahead. It's at a hard difficulty, mostly because there have been, now at least 6 people who have tramped their way through here.
Understood. I'm looking for maybe scuff marks off of her soles where the sole has been marked onto the stone. But it'll be a heart. No, that's a 34.
I mean, you think maybe she went left here when everybody went right, but the problem with going left is that there's 3 different passages you could go down. It doesn't look simple at all. Either it's everyone sticks together and you hope that you pick the right one, or it's everyone splits up and you hope that one of you find them before a bunch of crazy cultists do. And it looks like Mr. Fraser has picked the larger one to the left to go down, as he's already making his way out of the space here.
I had enough of all this nonsense. I'm off to find her ladyship.
I'll follow after Fraser.
You follow after him. Gentlemen, are you going anywhere else?
Richard wants to investigate this skin affliction, so he's going to follow too.
I will bring up the rear.
So you all, in your own fashion, in your own way, begin heading down one of the larger left portions. And as you do, you encounter some things that you've seen before. This would be for Miss Bellinger and Mr. Fraser. And that would be that there are some large standing pools of water. Some on the left, some on the right. And you can weave your way on dry land through most of it. Now, some of them, if you're trying to completely remove yourself from touching the water, that's a little bit impossible. But the water here is not very deep. I would say no more than, 3 to 4 inches really in some of the spots that you can touch on. If you are trying to move at a hustle, I will require a dexterity roll given the nature of the stonework here.
I'm going to call ahead of me as well. Your ladyship.
Mm-hmm.
Lady Elizabeth, are you there? Can you hear me?
Keeper Mike,
Mm-hmm.
can you let me know when since I'm bringing up the rear, when I'm near the water? Because that's something I might be able to see any signs of movement. If she could not avoid it, I might see like a splash or something like that.
Yeah, you get to it after probably a good, we'll say 100 feet or so, is where that more aquatic portion of your journey begins.
So would this be a regular tracking roll at this point?
No, it's still hard because of the people that have moved through here.
31, improved by 3, but still not a heart.
Some people have definitely moved through here before you. The question is who, and were any of them, maybe that's a cane print. Maybe that's a wet cane print there, but it's hard to, it could be, maybe. But as you keep going down this specific corridor, it widens out a little bit. And Mr. Fraser, you're forced to come to a stop when one of the pools here from left to right completely encompasses the passageway. And as you look ahead, there is a stone outcropping that you can get to. Right, so there's another stone to your left-hand side, but it must be maybe 10 or 15 feet away. And there's water that has been splashed up on that rock, so it's possible that someone moved through the water here. The trouble is with your torch, you can't really see how deep the water is.
Do I get the impression that this is a climb or a jump or a clamber that Lady Elizabeth could have made?
Well, Lady Elizabeth is a fairly determined woman. We all know that. And you would think that if she was determined to get through it, she would find a way to get through it. What you really could use that she likely has, and you do not, is a device to test the depth of the water. So that's the thing that you're missing. You need to be able to find out how deep the damn water is. Because if it's only, elbow deep, probable that she went this way. At least or would have been able to. If it's more than that, then it's unlikely.
Mr. Fraser is going to take off his coat and his jacket and hand them to whoever is beside him. Presumably that'll be Maggie.
Yep.
And then he is going to carefully and cautiously, holding on to the rock wall as he goes, edge his way into the water, testing its depth as he goes, with using one foot to kind of very carefully test out to see how deep it is.
What are you doing? What are you doing? And we bought poles for this very reason. Simon.
What?
We have poles. We have.
I see no poles.
We did. I wrote them on the inventory we have.
Well, where are they then?
There's one here.
Right, well, give it to me.
As you have your clothes off, can I? There seems to be a reddening on your neck.
I will accidentally hit him with my pole.
Ow!
I'm terribly sorry, Professor Courtney. How clumsy of me. Give me a wee bit of space.
Stand still for a minute. I've saved you a small...
Oh, did I do it again? Oh, I'm very sorry about it.
Well,
if we do have poles, I'll use a pole.
We do. Yeah, there are several long poles.
Those will come in useful for stretchers later on when one of us is unconscious.
So you begin to test the water, Mr. Fraser, and up near the side, the left-hand side of the corridor where this passageway goes, it's not terribly deep. You'll have to be careful. It's a little slick. It's probably no more than, say, 3.5 feet deep at its deepest point.
That is waist deep for her ladyship.
Yep, it is. But if she stuck to the far left wall, she'd be saved probably at lowest depth about 2 feet.
All right. Well, I am going to progress my way as best I can along towards this ledge that potentially she might have climbed up onto if we've even gone down the right tunnel.
Yeah, so to maybe give you a little bit better of a visual, mental picture of this, stalactites and stalagmites, etc., both on the left and the right-hand side. In the middle, there's this pool of water, and there is a ledge is a strong word. There's a rise in the tunnel. So it's not like she would have to scale something. She would be able to walk right out of the water.
All right, okay.
But yeah, so that's what you're up against.
Okay, well, that's the way I'm going to head then.
Well, it is a climb roll.
A climb roll, goodness me. Right.
But you have a pole, so you can use it as an equipment advantage.
Ooh. All right, so is that going to give me a bonus die? Yeah?
It will indeed.
Okay. Climb. I've only got base in climb, so I could be getting a tad moist. That is not a success. And it's far enough above my climb skill that I'm not going to spend the luck on it, even though I do have a fairly healthy supply of luck just now.
So you fall into the water. You lose a little grip. That pole does not come down in the right spot, and you fall towards the right into the water. You do your best to hang on to the things around you, but the problem is the stonework here is, of course, moist. And so everything here slips a little bit. And that is not the worst part of it. The worst part of it is when your skin, which has been burned before, comes into contact with this water, something terrifying happens to you. I'd like you to make me a hard constitution roll.
Oh my god. Oh dear, oh dear. Here we go. 07.
A very fortuitous outcome for you. It burns, it hurts. It's like hydrogen peroxide in your skin, for the sort of visual and sensory effect for our listeners. But it feels like something is chewing at your skin when you get this water on it.
I said we should have looked at that. It looks awful.
Shut up!
Get out of the water. It's doing it no good at all.
Right. I'm coming out. Did we bring any towels? Got more poles than you could shake a stick at. Do we have any towels?
No.
Right, I'm going to give it another go. Simon, are you able to give me a leg up? Or aid me in some way?
Hang on a minute. We have some rope. Perhaps we could tie you off to something.
Aye, tie me off to you. Stalagmite, we've got these stalactites and stalagmites. Tie me to one of those.
Do we have any pythons in our inventory that the professor put together?
No. Perhaps if, Simon, you might be good at this. Maybe if we could create a loop in the end of the rope, you could lasso a stalagmite on the other side, and we can have a rope that runs across that Mr. Fraser can grip onto.
Do I look like a cowboy?
No, you don't look like a cowboy, but you are an American, aren't you? And cowboys are American?
Aye, that's a good idea. If we get a rope tethered off to one side and to this side, then we can all hold on to that as we make our way along.
Yes.
I'm just giving the professor the dead eye look that I can.
I would be happy to make an attempt at lassoing, yes.
Oh, I think that's a fantastic... Oh, yeah, so that's a good question. How good is Maggie at tying things up? That's what I want to know.
Well, tying things up to restrain and lassoing, much different.
There is no rope use skill.
No, but I have a 20% throw, so I feel strongly about that.
Yeah.
I mean, believe in you.
I think you should. I think you should at least try.
All right. Roll 20, don't fail me now. Oh, it failed me. It was a 90 over 20.
You throw the rope.
Wait a minute. Would it not be easier if somebody climbed across to where you need to secure the rope and just placed it there and tied it off there, rather than spending all day throwing it at the bloody stalactites?
Yes, but then you didn't do a particularly good job of crossing, so I'm...
No, I didn't, but perhaps you could, Professor Courtney, or Simon, or Miss Bellinger.
Oh, okay, then I'll take the bloody rope over, and Richard will grab the loopy bit of the rope and stomp across in some sort of paddy.
Good man.
Simon will brace on the other side for the inevitable fall of the professor into the water.
That's a fantastic idea. Go fall, Professor. So let's roll climb with a bonus die.
10, yes. Well, they would have both have passed. There was a 20 and a 10 and a 0.
Fair enough. So you manage in a rather... Oh, if it's 10, it's a hard success. If your climb is 20. So you manage quite agilely, belying his professorial studies. He takes the pole and puts it between, gets a firm grip on it with both hands, and then moves to the left-hand side, basically puts his weight on the wall and uses the pole to steady himself, and kind of leaps into the air a little bit, and then just shimmies along until he can get onto the landing. And he's there.
Well done, Professor. I see you were watching those gondoliers in Venice.
No, you don't understand. It's a simple matter of physics and maths. If you use the pole as a third edge, you can triangulate the forces, and Yes, by redistribution of force to the wall. I mean, you create some very favourable conditions with the friction on the ground, and having offloaded a lot of weight onto the wall, you stand a much better chance of getting over. You see, it's all in the mind.
Yes, I'll tie the rope off now. Now that you're there, tie the rope off.
Ah, yes, of course. And Richard will find a stalagmite and tie the rope to it.
Simon, you tie off this side.
Easily done.
Right, Miss Ballinger, would you like to lead the way? I'm sure Professor Courtney will be able to grab hold of you the other side if you need it.
Of course, Mr. Fraser. Maggie will head across.
Okay. So if you're just going to basically hang and pull across on the rope, as long as you take your time, there's no skill roll that's needed. Right? As long as you take your time.
I will take my time then.
Take your time, you do it very carefully, and eventually you're across the other side. And you're there with the professor, and now your other two compatriots on the other side. So then what are you two doing, those of you on the other side? Are you, Fraser and Simon, are you taking your time?
Oh yeah, I don't want to go in the water.
All right.
Simon's taking his time, but he keeps looking for the electrical spirit and hopes it sticks to just to the one passage.
That's fair. You continue on. Getting past this first leg, this first large body of water, puts you against another one, which is about half as long. This one is way easier to make, and you don't really need the rope and pole situation to sort of get across. That puts you on a long, winding stretch of firm ground for a couple 100 feet. And there is still water. You can see that some of the rocks here are damp. So it's clear that some people did go this way. And it's at that point, after a couple 100 feet, you see something a little unfortunate. You see bodies.
Oh no.
3 or 4 of them in a pile.
I'm running towards them as fast as I can without falling flat on my face.
Certainly.
How we must investigate this.
Of course we do. We have to make sure one of them is not Lady Elizabeth.
There may be more evidence of those odd creatures, the purple ones in there.
Simon remembers, and he's looking for scorch marks on these bodies.
Interestingly enough, Simon, that's exactly what you find. Not just scorch marks, but a series of burn marks across the front of their bodies.
Lady E has been this way. Do you remember what happened in the tower in Venice?
Don't think Mr. Fraser saw that, if memory serves.
No, I think your back was turned at the time where you were going to help Miss Bellinger from jumping out a window when the cane went off.
Yeah, none of these bodies are Lady Elizabeth, though, no.
Nope, Lady Elizabeth Fitzroy is not amongst these bodies, but what Simon says, it looks like this is her handiwork.
Are these fez men, or are they robed men?
There's 2 and 2, so there's 2 robed men, or almost robed men, and then 2 befezed gentlemen. Their fezes are, of course, off at this point, and the burns here look pretty severe. It looks like they were sitting on top of a campfire for a few minutes.
What has happened here?
I don't know. I'll investigate. And Richard will beaver over to the bodies and start sort of unpiling them and turning them over. And
Jim, Professor, get your hands off those bodies. Don't make me say it again.
We need to be sure what killed them. If we're well, I don't know. If we're going to face it, then surely we forewarned is forearmed and all that.
We are wasting time. Jim, I'm not a betting man, but I will lay 10 to 1 this is the work of Lady E. She called fire before from her staff at the top of the tower in Venice. Her body is not here. This is something I guess she can do in extreme moments. Let's keep going to find her instead of dilly-dallying around here, Professor.
Why would she have come this way?
I don't know. We can ask her when we find her.
I'm moving off. Come on, then.
Right. So the group takes a turn. Professor, you do get a couple of pictures of these bodies with the corrupted flesh, these bubbles and cysts and strange tumors almost that seem to exude out of portions of their body. One man here has essentially 2 big fingers and a big thick thumb, and his hand is twice the size as it should be.
Richard has a theory this might be some sort of lobster-man hybrid.
It's a working theory. So the nice part is the next portion of the tunnel that you get past this has almost no water in it at all, and there are a clear set of couple of footprints here, one that seem a bit smaller than the other, and it gives you hope. You turn the corner right, and this cavern suddenly shrinks. It goes from maybe roughly 20 feet at its widest to, say, half that or less. And you can feel the walls kind of cradle you as you move through it. And with the stalactites and stalagmites, you're not able to move at full speed. So you're having to sort of pitch left and pitch right each time you go around the corners here. And instead of being long and winding paths, this one is quite the chicane.
Mike, at this point, since the bodies are back there, I'm hoping that there's only been one person passing through here. I'd like to attempt another track roll, please.
Sure, go ahead.
47. I'm still close, but not there.
Well, you have a good working theory. Maybe the fact that there's not enough sand in this area, maybe that's the key last point you're getting. That the softer footprints to the right here seem to suggest someone that does not weigh as much. Provided the group continues on, which I assume that is what they're going to do, you reach a point where you get to effectively a dead end, except that on the far wall here, there is a small, 3 or so feet tall hole in the wall.
Curiouser and curiouser. Miss Bellinger, you say that you somehow, I'm not even going to ask how, reached out to the Comte. Did you say he showed you the way to the...
Yes.
Well, what did he tell you?
Well, he didn't really show as much as told. Well, he told us that the way to go, he told us to stay to the right. Previously, that's what took us to the pool.
So we've gone a different direction, you think, to the way he indicated?
Oh, yes, entirely.
And was her ladyship there when you spoke to the Comte?
Yes, I believe that she was.
So what is she in search of then?
So, as a side note, and I don't know if Richard would pick up on this, but they couldn't hear the Comte. They could only hear me, right?
That is correct. No, I think if memory serves correctly, you told them that you were having a conversation with the Comte, and that you were going to follow his directions, that he was trying to help you.
Yeah. So they knew, but they went the opposite way. Okay.
Yep.
And she has the medallion, though, yes?
Yes, and we need it. It's the key negotiating piece in obtaining the next piece of the simulacrum.
I'm getting confused. My memories are all of a muddle. I thought we were supposed to return a sword to a lake, or was it a medallion?
No, it's the medallion. There was no sword, Richard.
It's all fuzzy.
We're taking the medallion and we're going back to the lake, and the thing in the lake said that it would give me the next body part, the piece of the simulacrum, in exchange for the medallion. It wants it back. It's I believe it rightfully belongs there.
Is someone going to go down this small passage to see if Lady E passed through here? Or are we just going to sit around talking?
Who out of us looks like the smallest?
Well, Simon, actually, though, if you remember the cave-in before, Richard, it might be best to have Simon go first, because he could, if he can fit, he could judge the structural integrity.
Ah, clever.
Simon is size 70.
Mm-hmm.
Is he able to fit?
You are going to have to make me a dexterity roll to shimmy through this corridor because of your great and lumbering size.
Simon is going to tie the rope around one of his legs and hand the other end to Jim. So, because Simon's also aware he's not going to probably be able to turn around in this tunnel. And he's going to, if he needs to, he's going to need help getting back out.
Strikes me that a man of your size, your dimensions, Simon, are not particularly well suited to life as a miner, which I would imagine involves a considerable amount of crawling through narrow spaces.
That's incorrect, Jim, because we actually make the spaces bigger with our axes. We don't like to go small.
I just want to know what we're getting ourselves into, what we could potentially see ahead of us. Let's just move forward. Yes.
Jim, I have no idea what's in front of us. I don't trust the professor. He scares me with this obsession with bodies. Miss Maggie, I would get your camera back from him. I'll go first.
You're a professional, Simon. You know what you're doing. On you go.
We're doing this for Lady E. So, dex check.
Yes, sir.
I'm spending the 2 points of luck to make that a success because I rolled an 82. I am now down to 11 luck.
Mr. Fraser, you've seen sausage made. That's really the best way I could equate this to. Simon is a big man, but he does manage to get himself through. Who's next?
I'm next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big guy as well.
What's your size?
My size is 70.
Fantastic. Dexterity roll, please.
Absolutely. That's not a fumble because my dexterity is over 50, but that's a 96. However, I am happy. I am eager to push the roll.
Ooh. How would you do it then?
I think I will realize that I am not squeezing through, so I will once again take off my jacket and my overcoat, and I think perhaps if I crawled in feet first, that might be easier.
You might be right.
So I will attempt to do this again. Apparently not.
You get stuck.
Simon, I'm stuck. I can't move.
I'm going to use my strength and holding onto the other length of rope, and I'm going to try and pull Jim through the tunnel, and we'll also see how the sausage is made on my side.
I think that's a fantastic idea. It's a hard strength roll.
Okay.
I'm like that bloody bear and his honey.
I rolled a 72 under 80. It's not a fumble, but
Nope.
It's not a hard roll.
So you pull and pull. And as you pull, Fraser, you are being pulled through a rock tunnel.
And I don't have a heavy overcoat to protect me.
You do not. So you'll take a point of damage for that. And it is a little uncomfortable. Provided the two of you continue to work through it, you do get out next round and onto the other side of it. And so I would just ask then if Miss Bellinger and Professor Courtney are going to continue their way through this hole as well.
It would be rude not to.
You would be. Now, both of you are not over size 65, yes?
Correct.
55.
There's no dex roll required for either one of you. And so you get back onto the very similar sort of textured tunnel floor that you'd been in before. You feel that very same texture.
I think my shirt is ripped quite a lot. I might even have ripped trousers, you never know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You are
Scratches and grazes.
you are a shell of yourself, of your normal, completely astute and tailored self. But realistically, as the four of you get out from the tunnel, some of you have seen this space before. Some of you have been on the other side of this vast cavern. You see an enormous pool in front of you. Enormous. There are these massive rock structures, just as you'd seen before. And you see on the left and on the right-hand side of this tunnel, there are dark figures who are chanting. You can hear their words just in the distance. And then near the front of this pool, you see a figure, their arm stretched into the sky, and a shining medallion in their hands as it lights ablaze. And that is where I'll call this episode to a close. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode, this frolicking of Horror on the Orient Express that we've occurred. And we hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you and good night.